Alright, boys and girls, I'm going to do my 3-gallon batch today. I've actually shot a couple pieces already, but I'll go back and do this in. I didn't do any of the mash, didn't film any of the mash. Lots of that. Once again, I typically don't show you every step. If there's a step that you have a question about, feel free to ask, or I can point you towards any number of other videos that show each particular step of a brew. And so, because I try to make these fit in Homebrew Wednesdays when the time comes, and so I edit them to just show you a little bit of what's going on. I'd like to show you when it's a little different. And so what I've got coming up is my 3-gallon better bottle. When it's done is going to be when it's interesting. I'll show you why I got the ones that I did. I need to pick up another one. I think that I should be able to do two 3-gallon batches and a regular 5-gallon batch in my fermentation freezer, given the correct setup. We'll see when we go to put this bottle in there. Should have tried that bottle before. It's going in no matter what. But disclaimer: I have not actually inserted that bottle into the spot in my freezer where it is supposed to fit to ferment. Here's hoping. And I showed that, and it's a 3-gallon batch. And so, being that it's a 3-gallon batch, I didn't feel the need to do it outside. I did it on my stove. Very little chance of a boil over, especially since I'm still paying attention to it. But it's just over 4 gallons, in an 8-gallon pot, and so not a lot of chance for a boil over in the kettle. So I'm doing it in the kitchen. Let's see. Final gravity, we'll see. I used, once again, about 20% rye, and we'll see where the gravity comes out based on going with the different system. Excuse me. And we'll determine whether it's an IPA or an Imperial IPA or a double IPA or a triple IPA. Who knows? Well, we'll determine that by what the gravity comes out as. But with in the 3-gallon batch, here are the hop additions. They're adjusted slightly from when I scaled it with Brew Smith, just as opposed to 0.694. I rounded so that so I used what I had, and I adjusted a little. So I have half an ounce at 60 minutes. I have 3/4 of an ounce at 15 and 3/4 of an ounce at 5, plus 1 ounce 4 days after the first bowl. So dry hopping with an ounce. All Sriracha Ace. And so that's the hop schedule. And we're coming up on my 15-minute edition here pretty quick. So and I may show a piece of that. We'll see. The 15-minute edition has also got the Whirlflock tablet in it. I also did add a teaspoon of gypsum to first work. So, all right. See you in the kitchen next, I would guess. Okay, here is my 3-gallon better bottle, filled with star sand, waiting for wort. And here is the wort for the 3-gallon batch. Actually doing it on the stove today because had a 4-gallon boil in an 8-gallon pot. I can. Okay, and this is the 5-minute edition. I'm going to take it from there and slide it into the hop bag. Once again, it's another one of those steps that really requires both hands. And that's the 5-minute edition. In 5 minutes we'll have flame out. Okay, here's a look at how I cool. This bucket has holes in it intermittently. Had to start over because I had water in it, but There's a lot of those are seedlings from the maple trees, and they were in this bucket because this plastic bucket just sits outside, and they had all the holes blocked, and the pot started to float. And the object is to not have the pot float. If it's going too fast, I will slow the water down some, so that there's the water. See, the water circulates this way, and my groundwater is pretty cold, and so it does a pretty good job of cooling. Now, it would cool quicker without a lid, but you probably can't see in the video, but there's about 7 million mosquitoes out here, and that work is nice and sweet. And so I'd rather not have mosquitoes in my beer, and so it takes a little longer to cool with the lid on it, but since I have this lid that fits my brew pot pretty completely, we will go with that. Now I'm going to monitor it here a little bit to make sure it doesn't get too high above the marks, above the holes, and when this chills, we'll transfer it, and then we'll see if it fits. Okay, well, it fits quite nicely in there, and you can see that there's room for a second one to fit below that shelf in there quite nicely. This is the Fog Nugget, and it's no activity there. It's actually pretty close to being able to be kegged, because that one's going to be kegged. This one's going to be bottled, but this one's going to be kegged, and it could go in the keg. If I had CO2 today, I might keg that today, but I'm going to probably give it another day or two anyway. I don't know what our temperature is at. I'll check in a minute. Temperature of the cooler is at 18.5, but the beer was still around 90, and I'll explain that. So it has not been pitched. It is going to be pitched with USO5. Okay, let's go back inside and we'll wrap this up. Okay, basically that brew day is in the books. It's not pitched yet, for a couple of reasons. One was I couldn't find that envelope of yeast. Took me a couple of tries. I had it in the fridge with the hops. I measured out all the hops, put the hops for the dry hopping back in the fridge, and I set a dish towel on top of the yeast, and I almost thought I was going to have to wait till I got more yeast, but it doesn't bother me too much. Yeah, you may or may not have noticed there's still, a fair amount of little foam left. I didn't leave a lot of headroom. I'm going to have to watch that one close. That may need a blow-off tube, because that 3-gallon fermenter doesn't have a lot of headroom for krausen. But I moved from boiling to under 100 pretty quickly with that cooling system, and that gives me a nice hot break, or a cold break, and I'm happy with that. The last few degrees, I don't want to pitch until it's at fermentation temperature. I used to try to pitch when she got close. If she was in the range of the yeast, I would pitch, but it will clean itself up in time. If it was beer that was going to be around for a while, maybe, but no. I'm not going to pitch until I'm at temperature, but it's sealed. It's got an airlock on it. When I put the bung in, it was foam right up to the top. I'm not worried about it getting infected between now and when I pitch. And I've already gotten my cold break, and so I'll just wait till tomorrow. By tomorrow, it will definitely be, settled in. It'll be at temperature. It'll be ready to go. In 4 days, I'll throw in the dry hops, and I'll probably only dry hop it for a week or two, and then I will bottle, and I'll probably batch condition. Not sure yet, but I'm getting a knock on the door, so I'm gonna wrap this up. Cheers, 17. Okay, boys and girls. There's a little couple extra seconds here in a minute or two, because I know in the last little piece there I kind of did the Cheer 17 and I was done, because I was done. I wasn't going to show any more of this beer, but well, let me just open up the chiller here and show you. Okay, it's fermenting quite nicely, as you can tell by the bubbles in the blow-off tube. From the mess you can see in the bottom there, what I'm sure you can guess is that the downside of the 3-gallon bottle is there's no headspace. And nice, thick, heavy krausen came right on through, popped the top right off of the airlock. And I thought it, when I was putting it in there, I thought, you know, there's not a lot of headspace there. I might want to start with a blow-off tube. And one of those brilliant times where I thought it, I knew, but I didn't do it. And it took about 12 hours to get really rolling. It was the temperature. I didn't wait till the next day, because about, I don't know, 4 hours after I shot that last piece of video, it was at temperature. It was down to 17, so Celsius, and I went ahead and said, okay, this is making plenty of noise, and went ahead and threw the airlock, or threw the yeast in, threw the airlock on, give it a little shake. And the next morning it wasn't quite going, but by the next afternoon it was going pretty nice. That was yesterday. And then today I popped it open, and there was about, I don't know, it stood about this high. It stood as about 8 inches of krausen straight up out of that bung. And so I popped the bung, or I popped the airlock out, and I'd already had this one set up. This is just an airlock, and what it's got is it's got this piece of red tubing that fits over the piece in the airlock, and then it goes into this piece of tubing, and then just down into that bottle. And I'd already had this, and I just dipped this whole thing in the Star San, and came and pulled the old one out, and pulled the one out of there, and stuck this in there, and that was only a couple of minutes ago. And yeah, she's cruising right now. She's fermenting quite nicely. Can't really tell, but I like the color. It looks good. It's gonna be good. I'm gonna be happy with it. I still haven't moved the fug nugget yet. I will pick up my CO2 tomorrow, so I'll probably keg that tomorrow night. But yep, it's coming along nicely. Once again, this time we're actually wrapped up. Cheers, 17.